Welcome back to the channel. Make yourself at home, make yourself comfortable. You see the title, you see the thumbnail. Kevin Durant was right. Now this man is not a genius, do not get it twisted. If you really knew the type of players you need on your side to go and get that championship, he would have not went to Brooklyn with drama queen Mr. Flat Earth, Kyrie Irving. That's not the point here. The truth about Westbrook was clear even before this latest news about him wanting to get traded. And we're just going to be talking about that in this video. If you guys came here for the trade packages, I may make a video about that. If you really want that, comment down below, subscribe, all that stuff, right? No contending team would want Westbrook. Let's be honest here. There's been far too many case studies in what Westbrook does to a team. In too many instances, he brings down the team's ceiling. Team that needs a point guard like the Clippers, Milwaukee, they are not looking to trade for Westbrook. His most likely destination will be the New York Knicks. As a Rockets fan, I would not mind us getting rid of Westbrook for a bag of chips and maybe Mitchell Robinson. But let's talk about how has Westbrook vindicated KD's departure. As y'all know, KD became public enemy number one summer 2016 after being just a game away. If it wasn't for that Klay Thompson game 6, they would have probably been in the finals getting another rematch against King James. And to this day, a lot of people will not forgive him. To a lot of people, he has an asterisk among a lot of his accolades, the 2 finals MVP, the championships, all of that. It's not a true championship, but all that hate for KD came overwhelming love for Westbrook. Empathy. He was seen as this guy who was brutally just left alone to carry a franchise on his back. And going into that 2017 season, it was the perfect environment for someone like Westbrook, a ball dominant guy who needs to be the star that everyone else in the whole organization revolves around. Someone who doesn't need to share the ball, doesn't need to share the plaudits when they win. And he put up the numbers. He had 30-point triple-double. I think the Thunder got the 5th seed. And he won the MVP. And you guys know how the MVP awards work. You know how the media operates when it comes to these awards. Depending on the narrative, the most favorable narrative that season, the guidelines for what constitutes as an MVP changes. It happens every year. And it was a perfect storm for someone like Westbrook. First postseason, he met up with former teammate James Harden. Gentlemen swept out of there. 5 games. No one blamed him too much. The consensus around the time was he had no help. He had nobodies. Fast forward to the next season, they get him help in Paul George and Hoodie Melo. That guy's amazing. Too bad he only lasted a couple games for OKC, but still, Paul George himself. I know right now Paul George gets a bad rap. Pandemic Pete came out in full colors. He put on that cape and he wore it proudly. Did not end well for him, but do not get it twisted. Paul George was a top 15 player when he was on OKC, and he's a top 15 player today as I speak. And he seemed like the perfect partner for Westbrook on paper. Even me, I thought, yeah, that's gonna work out pretty nice. First season together, they lose in 6 games to a rookie Donovan Mitchell and Joe Ingles of the Utah Jazz. Bro, that's a bro moment.
Kept it alive to Felton. George for the tie. One more time. Take your time. Take your time. Plenty of time here. Westbrook into Adams. Now here he comes around Paul George. Got Gobert.
Hey, but it's okay, man. It's okay. That's just the first season together. They had some chemistry things. They'll be back the next season after that. Gentlemen swept by Damian Lillard, man. 5 games. So in 3 seasons without KD, the Thunder have never exited the first round. Westbrook has only gotten that organization about 4 wins in 3 years, postseason wins. And it wasn't pretty. From a statistical standpoint, Westbrook in those 2 series was putting up monster numbers, 38 points, 10 rebounds, 11 assists, but he shot under 50% in both of those series. For 2 straight postseasons, he was bricking up shots for a majority of his shot selection. When you pound the ball that much, when your usage rate is that high, of course you're gonna get these numbers, man. Those teams against the Utah Jazz and Portland Trailblazers, those rosters were not objectively better than the roster put around Westbrook and Paul George. And then my team comes out, trades their whole treasure chest not only to acquire Westbrook but to accommodate him. They also traded Clint Capella to space the floor as much as possible to accommodate his playing style and his abilities, right? And they traded an aging Chris Paul to the Thunder. I won't blame my Rockets too much for this trade. They're trying to capitalize on this situation where the Warriors, who dominated the league for so long, was finally falling off its horse. There was a time period in the middle of the season where we were actually rolling, right? We traded Clint Capella. Our offensive rating was off the board. Small ball, but it all matters about the postseason, and the postseason is where you see the truth of players, teams, coaches. The OKC Thunder without Westbrook, with a 36-year-old Chris Paul, SGA, all the other pieces that Westbrook had before he left, they won almost as many postseason games than Westbrook did in his whole time without Kevin Durant, and it was against Westbrook himself. Now, Westbrook did miss a number of games in that series, but you cannot tell me here with a straight face that the Rockets, even with their micro ball shenanigans, a Rockets led by James Harden, is worse than a rookie Donovan Mitchell and that Utah Jazz team, or even that Damian Lillard led team in 2018. Even with transcendent talent like James Harden and Kevin Durant, Westbrook does not raise the ceiling of a team's ability. He most definitely is a player who can raise the floor of a team significantly, but especially in the modern NBA, his style of play, it just doesn't cut it. His mentality, it just doesn't cut it. This ball dominant stat padding, it just doesn't cut it, man. Don't get me wrong, Westbrook is a great player, but he is not a player who can win a championship as the first or even second best player on a team. And as for my Rockets, they're in a very tough spot. They sold the treasure chest to accommodate him, to get him, all that, and even in a potential trade, they will struggle to get nearly what they gave up for Westbrook. Yeah, that is all I have for you today. Just something off the top of my head. If you like this, comment down below, like, subscribe, all that. I'll see you next time.